So one of the biggest waste of time in email is having to send multiple back and forth messages because of missing information or dependencies that your recipient needs to be aware of. In this video, we'll go over how to use if-then statements to improve communication flow in your messages. So what are some advantages of if-then statements? The first is that they reduce the amount of follow-up emails that you actually have to write. The second is that they clarify expectations and assumptions so that there's absolutely no confusion by your recipients. And then finally, they hold people accountable for getting back to you by a certain time or date. And in the next few slides, we'll talk about 4 different tips that help you accomplish all of that. So tip number 1 is to use if-then for clarity on next steps. And the best way to explain that is to give you a couple of examples. So the first example is me sending an email to Michael saying, Michael, we're leaving today at 5:30 p.m. If you cannot be here at that time, then please meet us directly at the restaurant by 6 p.m. So I'm reducing the amount of back and forth email, and I'm giving Michael an option that if he can't make it by 5:30 p.m. to meet us directly at the restaurant. Another example is me sending an email to Jennifer saying, Jennifer, you should have all the information you need. If you have any other questions, then please call the support desk at 800-555-2321. The second tip is to use if-then to explain assumptions and set expectations. And here are a couple of examples. The first example is, Kelly, your note wasn't very clear to me. If you meant A, then I suggest we do B. Otherwise, if you meant X, then I suggest we do Y. And I'm just filling in the blanks on A and B and X and Y here in terms of what I'm trying to explain there. And if you notice, I've got a couple of if-then statements, the first one here and then the second one there, so that I set expectations and assumptions with what Kelly was trying to get at in her note. A second example is, Daniel, please lead the meeting today while I'm out. If you don't have access to it, then please create a new meeting invite and send it to the team. The third tip is to use if-then for accountability by your team members. And this is actually my favorite tip because it holds people accountable for their actions. So one example is, Jason, please let me know whether you want to make any more changes to the document. If I don't hear back by Friday, Jan 15th at noon Central Time, then I'll assume you're good and I will send it to the client at that time. So again, what I did here was I held Jason accountable to replying back to my email, and that if he doesn't, then the repercussions are clearly stated in the message. Another example is Sarah. Another friendly reminder to get back to me with your approval on the note below. If you don't respond by Monday, June 9th at 9 a.m. Eastern, then this will be automatically rejected by the system. So I'm also explaining what the repercussions are if Sarah does not follow up on the action. And then the final and fourth tip is to use if-then to have your team members remind you of something later on. So one example is, Scott, I'll ask around and get back to you. If you don't hear back from me by Friday, then please send me a quick reminder early next week so I can follow up on that for you. A second example is, Michelle, I'm on the road. If I don't respond back to you by later tonight, then please remind me again tomorrow morning. So I'm basically using my team members as a calendar invite to remind me about something that I have to do for them later on. All right, so let's wrap up with a quick summary. Use if-then statements to clarify next steps, to explain assumptions and set expectations, to hold team members accountable, and finally to ask team members to remind you of actions later on. And by doing so, you will reduce the amount of email that you get from your team, and you will improve your communication flow in your messages. That's it. Thank you so much for watching, and on to the next video.